Legendary!
What is up guys, Kris05 here with another video. Today I will start a new series for the channel, called Top 5 with Kris05. A lot of people ask me for advice on what deck they should play to climb, so in this video I will give you 5 decks I think are great for climbing to Legend this season, so this should be pretty helpful. Drop a comment below and tell me what deck you're climbing with this season, and if you enjoy what I'm doing, please drop a like and a subscribe as well. Let's start with Vicious Syndicate's meta report. If you're not sure how to read their charts and graphs, you can take a look at my October meta report video, in which I give you all the information you need to be able to understand everything here. In the power rankings, we can see what are the most powerful decks to climb with for our current rank, and we will focus on the rank 4 to rank 1 segment. Looks like Token Druid is still going strong and is very popular, and that is one of the main reasons Even Luck rose in power again, because it is so great against tokens. Odd Warrior is on third since it deals great with most popular aggro decks, but I wouldn't really suggest it to you. I know a lot of people regret crafting it, since it is just way too slow and they get bored of it quickly. Not to mention, it costs 11k plus dust, so yeah. Starting off with our Rogue. Odd Rogue is still going strong in the current meta, and I think I will actually use it to climb to Legend this season. It struggles against most Druid decks, although it still puts up a solid fight against them. Odd Warrior and Pally are really strong against it, but you don't see that many of those. It has a lot of favorable matchups, and you can pull off a lot of surprise lethals too, so you should be fine climbing with this deck. The only new cards that got included in the deck from the Boomsday are Myra's Unstable Element and 2 Giggling Inventors. Unstable Element really helps you push the tempo, since it gives you a ton of steam. Just be careful not to use it too early though, because that will cost you some games. It takes some practice to get used to the card, but it definitely helps you out in most matchups. If you are on a budget, you can replace it with a Blink Fox or a Void Ripper, and same goes for Edwin. Some people actually prefer the deck without Edwin, so I'd say you can skip crafting it. For the mulligans, you're going to want a good 1-drop and a 3-drop, so you curve out nicely. Keeping Vilespine Slayer or Fungomancer might also be a good idea, when you have the coin, so choose wisely. You can check out my Twitch if you want to see me playing the deck, and you can check out my old Witchwood Odd Rogue gameplay video too. Another deck you can use to climb is Death Rattle Hunter. It is really powerful and is not easy to play against, so you should do pretty good with it. I used it to hit Legend last season and it was super easy for me, so I'm sure you can do it too. This deck is great against most of the popular decks and only suffers hard against the not so popular Quest Rogue and Odd Paladin. Token Druid and Zoolock are also unfavorable matchups, but you will be able to put up a fight. The deck is quite expensive, but if you have the dust, it will be worth it. If you don't have the dust for it, maybe try Secret Hunter, which is also really strong right now. Death Rattle Hunter is definitely not a budget-friendly deck, and you can't really swap its legendaries without hurting its power. You will notice this deck doesn't run any Giggling Inventors anymore, but instead opts for Chain Gangs or MC Techs. This really helps against most aggressive decks, since you will be able to play those cards earlier and you won't get destroyed by Blood Knights and Mossy Horrors so much. On the mulligan, you always want to keep your eggs, kill set and tracking. If you already have the egg, it is good to save some Death Rattle activators. Against aggro matchups, Candleshot Bow, Flanking Strike and sometimes Spider Bombs are a good idea to keep. Against more control-oriented decks, you have to go for Rexxar for infinite value. Here's my easy Legend with Death Rattle Hunter video if you want to see the deck in action. Next we have Even Shaman. This deck is not too popular, but is very strong. I will have to use the all chart, since the 4-to-1 chart doesn't give us enough information for now. It has good win rates against almost all of the popular meta decks, but is only slightly unfavored against the top 3 decks of the meta report, Even Luck, Odd Warrior and Token Druid. Again, this is an expensive deck with a lot of legendaries, so be careful crafting it. The only legendary I'd say you can switch is the Lich King, which you can swap with a common Bone Mare. Some people even prefer it, so this will drop the deck below 10k dust. The deck has a lot of value in it, and you can apply constant pressure. It is just filled with so much high value minions, and that is something most opponents can't answer. For the mulligan, you always want to have some good 2-drop minions. Flametongue Totem and Earthen Might are also really strong for buffing your cheap totems. Saving up Corpse Taker is also a great idea against some matchups since it applies a lot of pressure. And Sea Giant is great for matchups where you know the board will be flooded early on. Moving on to Aluneth Mage. This deck made it into my list because it is so cheap and is doing quite well against most of the popular meta decks. It's either really favored or really unfavored against the others, but being able to play your game so fast will help you climb those ranks, even with a not so high win rate. The only legendaries this deck uses are Aluneth and Stargazer Luna, and both are really strong. Stargazer Luna is a really good draw tool, and it serves as a high threat minion on the board, which your opponents must remove before things get out of control. The secret package is a bit reduced from what we used to see in the earlier aggro mages, and most people already know that this deck runs only 2 explosive runes and 1 counterspell, so you can use that to your advantage and switch it up a little. For the mulligan, you really want to get that Mana Worm, Arcanologist, and maybe even Luna. Usually you will curve out nicely, so some hand refill is always great. And the last deck on my list is Evenlock. This deck really picked it up again in the last few weeks, since it deals so well with the popular token druids and Zulocks. The only real counters to it are the Aluneth Mage we just talked about, and Quest Rogue, which we don't see that much of. The deck is a bit expensive, but if you enjoy Warlock, you should have Bloodreaver Gul'dan anyway, so there's that. Gang Greymane is also a solid and safe craft, and so is the Lich King. All in all, you won't regret crafting any of these legendaries, so if you like this deck, you will be safe to craft it, since all of these legendaries are used in several decks. For the mulligan, you have to be greedy most of the time, so you can play your fat Twilight Drakes and Mountain Giants as soon as turn 3 or 4. Versus aggro decks, it is better to save some 2-drops, a Defile, a Hellfire, and an Amethyst maybe. Versus hard control matchups, saving the Geist would be a good idea. So these are my top 5 decks for this season, guys. I would be happy to read which are your favorite decks in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video.